Welcome students. So this is Mohini Miss. I am going to continue the 5th chapter, Governing the Colonial State in India. So the first question is, what were the background of the Government of India Act 1909? What were its features? What were its importance, or what were the importance of this act? So the background means what were the reasons that led to the passing of this act? Features are important points and importance. What are the importance? Okay. So you can see the picture there. This is the picture of John Morley, the Secretary of State for India, and Lord Minto, who was the Viceroy at that time in India. So they were the ones to pass this Government of India Act 1909. And before this, many acts were passed. Like for instance, in 1861, one act was passed, and after that, in 1892, another act was passed. But in these two acts, the Indians were not given much powers. They were not represented in the government. Indians were not represented in the government. They did not get any chance in the government. That is why this act had to be passed. So now we will continue with the background. So the background. So the first background is that that, as I said just now, that the old acts of 1861, 1892, these acts did not satisfy the Indians, because the Indians got very limited, very few Indians were given the chance to join in the state and the central government. That was the thing, and also the Indians did not get much powers. So since they did not get much powers, so the Indian National Congress that was formed in 1885 demanded that more Indians should be represented in the central and the state government, and also that the Indians should get more powers. So that was the first reason for passing of this act. Then the second reason for passing of this act was that Lord Curzon, when he was the Governor General of Bengal, Lord Curzon tried to partition Bengal. He tried to divide Bengal into East Bengal and West Bengal. The reason is that he wanted to break the national movement. He wanted to make the Indians weak. So that is why he partitioned Bengal. Bengal was partitioned into two parts. And so since Bengal was partitioned, at that time the Indians started the anti-partition movement. Anti means against. So against this partition, the people of Bengal protested, and they started the anti-partition movement or the Swadeshi movement. So this Swadeshi movement or the anti-partition movement caused a lot of problem to the British. They were quite concerned at that time. They were quite alarmed. The British government was quite alarmed. And another thing is that in 1907, there was a Surat split. And at that time, the moderates or the members of the Congress now, divided into two groups, the moderates and the extremists. There was rise of extremism. So these extremists now took up arms and they wanted to fight against the British. So now, because the extremists were trying to, attack the British, that is why the British were quite concerned. They were quite, they felt quite, alarmed. They were quite concerned, and so so at this time, this partition movement was one reason that led to the passing of this act. And at that time, what did the British government do is that they wanted to satisfy the moderates. The moderates had been making a lot of demands. Their demands were not fulfilled. So now they felt that they should satisfy the moderates. And another thing is that at that time, the Muslim League was formed, and Muslim League was formed in 1906. And this Muslim League, what did they demand? They demand for separate electorate. What is separate electorate? Electorate means the right to vote, and separate means now the different communities are there in India, the Christians, the Muslims, the Hindus. So these Christians, Hindus, Muslims, they had to vote separately. That means they had to choose their leader separately. For instance, the Muslim will choose, will vote for the Muslim leader, the Sikhs will choose their Sikh leader, the Muslims will choose their Muslim leader. So that way, that that system of choosing the leader was known as the separate electorate. So now the separate electorate was demanded by the members of the Muslim League. And another reason for the background of this Act of 1909 is that now there was rise of revolutionary movement. Lot of revolutionary movement started at that time in India. First revolutionary movement started in Bengal, but it even spread to Punjab, Maharashtra. So Bengal, Punjab, Maharashtra became the center of revolutionary movement. And it was at this time that the people of Bengal, they were they formed, Anushilan Samiti, Yugantar group, and they were the ones who started to attack the British government. Like for instance, one example is Khudiram Bose and Prafulla Chaki. What did they do is that they wanted to kill Kingsford, the British magistrate, because he was, he used to torture the Indians. The Indians, condition was, not at all good under him. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to kill Kingsford. So they threw a bomb in the carriage of Kingsford, but mistakenly they killed Mrs. Kennedy and her daughter. So Khudiram Bose and Prafulla Chaki, they were going to be, punished by the British government. So what did they do? Prafulla Chaki, he committed suicide, whereas Khudiram Bose, he became a martyr. He became a martyr, Shahid Bhayo, that was the incident that took place in Bengal. And another was in Punjab also, this movement was continuing, and even in Maharashtra there were the Chapekar brothers, and these Chapekar brothers, they were quite, they were quite unhappy with the rule of Rand and Ayerst. Rand and Ayers were the plague officers. So since they were unhappy with the plague officers, so the Chapekar brothers, Damodar Chapekar and Balkrishna Chapekar, what did they do? They tried to kill Rand and Ayers. So Rand and Ayers were killed. So these two, these Chapekar brothers, they were also hanged to death by the British. So they are regarded as the first martyrs of India. India ka first Unaru Shahid Manin Chapekar brothers, like they are from Maharashtra. So this way, lot of revolutionary movement was going on. So that is why the British government now felt that if they introduce reforms, Sudhar, reforms means Sudhar, changes, Parivartan garyo bhane chai ke huncha, they can satisfy the Indians. Indians can be happy. At least if they cannot satisfy the extremists, at least the moderates can be happy. So that is why, in order to pacify means to make friendly relations, to establish peace, among the Indians, this Government Act of 1909 was passed. So these are the background. Then the features. Now features are the important points. So there was the formation of Executive Council and the Legislative Council. So the Legislative and Executive Council was formed. Now we will discuss about the next point, and that is about the Legislative Council. So what is this Legislative Council? Legislative Council is like today's Parliament. In Parliament we have what? We have the President and we have the Prime Minister who has all the power. President is only a nominal head, but Prime Minister has all the power. Then we have the Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. In the same way, here also, this Legislative Council was like the Parliament of today. Okay. So, in this Legislative Council, what happened is that there were, the numbers were increased. Before, in the old acts, the number of legislative members, the duty of the legislature is also to make laws. So now the members' duty is to make laws, and the number was, before it was only 16. Now by this act the number increased, it became 60. From 16 it became 60. And at that time, there was also this Viceroy was there. Viceroys were like today's Prime Minister. Viceroy was like today's Prime Minister, and then he had all the powers, and he is also known as the ex officio member. Ex officio. Okay, the Viceroy was known as the ex officio. ICIO, ex officio. That means ex officio member means that he became the head because of his office, through office, because of his post. He was known as the ex officio member because he was the head there, okay, in this legislative council. Then, so he was the one who used to appoint the members, who used to nominate the members, and then beside the ex officio members, there were another members, official members. Official members, okay. These official members were mostly the British officers. The official members were mostly the British officers. They had government posts. And how many were appointed official members? 28. 28 were the official members. Beside that, there were unofficial members. Unofficial members, and these unofficial members were, that means these unofficial members were not British, they were mostly Indians, okay, they were mostly Indians, they were not British, and they did not have government post, whereas official members were the British members, and they had the government post, whereas unofficial members, they were mostly Indians, and they did not have government post. So these members were there, and beside that there was indirect election. Indirect election was there. So in this indirect election, who was chosen? You can see 27 members were elected. They were not nominated. Nominated, appointed means to choose, but they were indirectly elected. They were indirectly elected. 27 members were indirectly elected, and these 27 members, they were mostly chosen on the basis of on the basis of their education, on the basis of the wealth, and they also had to be the member of the Chamber of Commerce. This indirect members who were chosen, the indirect members were the zamindars, Muslim community, okay, members of Muslim community. They were elected, 27 of them, and these 27 of them who were elected, this 27 27 members, they had to be the member of Chamber of Commerce. They had to be the member of Chamber of Commerce. They had to be the member of the Chamber of Commerce first, then they were elected. So that means they were elected indirectly. First they had to become the member of the Chamber of Commerce, then after that they were again elected. Okay, they were elected, they were voted. So these members were zamindars and the Muslim community, and on the basis of the education, on the basis of the wealth, they were chosen. So 27 of them were chosen. They were not chosen, they were elected. Then so that is the thing. And another is that there were 5 members. 5 members were nominated. They were chosen by the Viceroy. So that makes how many? 60 total members. But here you can see that the British officers were mostly, they were majority here, because 28 were British officers, and also the 5 members nominated by Viceroy were also British officers. So they were 33 out of 60. They were 33. That means they were more than the Indian members. Indian members were only 27. So this way you can see they try to have a majority in the Legislative Council. So that is the point here. Then another thing is that beside this, the members of this Legislative Council, they also had the right to plan the budget. Budget is what? Budget is the income and expenditure of the previous and the coming year. So they had the right to plan the budget. The members of the central and provincial legislature, they could plan the budget, they could make ordinance. Ordinance are acts, and also beside making the ordinance, they also had the right to vote. They also had the right to vote. So these are about the Legislative Council, and yes, these are the thing. Then the next point is that, so as we discussed in the background that the Muslims were demanding for separate electorate. So now this act of 1909 gave the Muslim the right to separate electorate. That means Muslims voted through separate electorate. That is number 3. The number 4 is that now in the provincial legislature, now the Provincial Legislative Council was formed, and there the number of members was also increased. They could have either 30 to 50 members, and the members were all nominated, they were all chosen. And so here the number of nominated members were more than the elected members. That means nominated members means the British members were more than the Indians. So that is the thing. And the next is that here the powerful persons were the Viceroy and the Governor. So the Viceroy and the Governor, they had the right to remove any person whom they thought were not fit. Unfit people could be removed by the Viceroy and the Governor from the provinces. So these all are the legislative council. Now we discuss about a legislative council now. So the executive council now I am going to do, and the members of the executive council also belong to the legislative council. They also were the member of the legislative council, and these executive council, they actually, what is their function? Their function is to carry out the laws made by the legislature. So in the executive council also you can see it was formed in the center and in the state. So executive council was formed in the center, like today we have in Delhi the center, and state. We live in the state of West Bengal, so in the state and in the center the executive council was there. And here the first point is that in the Viceroy's executive council, because the head is the Viceroy, so there was the Viceroy's executive council, and in this Viceroy's executive council, one Indian member was chosen. For the first time, one Indian member was chosen, and he was Lord S.P. Sinha. So Lord S.P. Sinha became the first Indian member of the Viceroy's executive council. So in the center, Lord S.P. Sinha was the member of the Viceroy's Executive Council, whereas in the state was Raja Kishorilal Goswami. He was the executive member in the state. That means in Bengal's Executive Council, Raja Kishorilal Goswami was the member. And in this Executive Council, again, here also, like in the Legislative Council, here also the number of members was increased. Like for instance, in the Legislative Council we said from 16 it was increased to 60. And here you can see that in the Executive Council also, Governor's Executive Council, the number of members was also increased. Before it was 2, later on it was increased to 4. And this happened in the provinces of Bengal, Bombay and Madras. So these all comes under the Executive Council. Then, so we have finished the features. Now the next is about the importance. So the importance is that, we said just now that S.P. Sinha, Lord S.P. Sinha was made the Viceroy's Executive Council. So that is one importance here. For the first time, one Indian member was chosen as the Viceroy's Executive Council, S.P. Sinha. And so the demand of the Indians, for a long time Indians had been demanding for this, Indians to be a member of the Viceroy's Executive Council. So the demand of the Indians, which was there for a very long time, was fulfilled. So he was not the government official, he was not a British, so he was the unofficial member. Unofficial, I told you, means they are mostly Indian and they don't have the government post. They don't have the government post, so they were the unofficial member. So S.P. Sinha became the first unofficial member. That was one importance. Second importance is that now there was freedom. Autonomy means freedom. Freedom was given to the people of India to form their own government. The Indians now, they could form their own government, self-rule. Indians could choose their leader and they could rule themselves. They were free from external control. So self-rule or self-government started in India according to this Government of India Act 1909. And the last point is that here, before the British, it was the Mughals who ruled in India. The Mughals were defeated and then the British came to power. So the Mughals, when they ruled, they were very powerful. They established autocratic government. Autocratic means very powerful. The Mughals are very powerful. They did not give any power to the people. So in that autocratic system only, what did the British do? The British introduced the law, the rule of law. Here it is said, there is a mistake in this line, end of autocratic system. That is not the thing, but the main thing is that here, this autocratic government was continued by the British. And in this autocratic government only, what did the British introduce? The rule of law. In rule of law, there is impartiality, there is justice, fairness. So, fairness was introduced along with the autocratic government which had been started by the Mughals. So, this is all about the government of India Act 1909. And so, now I have written here VPNRIS, just to remember what we have done here. And this, just remember, you can remember it this way, very pleased NRI student. Okay, very pleased NRI student. So, if you remember this, very pleased NRI student, then you can remember what I have done here. So, very here means we. What does this V stand for? So, the V stand for is that Viceroy's Executive Council, which I did just now, that in that Viceroy's Executive Council, there was Indian member. For the first time, SP Sinha became the Indian member. So, that you can remember from here, from this word that I have formed. Then another is P. Okay, P, powers were increased. Like for instance, we did in the Legislative Council, powers were increased. Like the legislative members, they had the power to make budget, they had the power to vote, they had the power to make ordinances or acts. So, P stands for power. Power was increased. Then N, what does N stand for? N means the number of members were increased. We said 16 was there in the Legislative Council. From 16 it increased to 60. So, N stands for number of members increased. Okay. Then R stands for representative or limited representation. Limited representation, like for instance in the Legislative Council we said there was limited representation because the members of the Legislative Council who were Indians, they were elected, and they were elected only on the basis of wealth and education. If they had good education, if they had wealth, then only they were elected. So, there was this representation was limited. Only educated and rich people were indirect, they were elected. Okay, and here I stands for indirect. So, those members, Indian members were elected indirectly, not directly. Okay, they were elected indirectly. And S is that this Act of 1909 gave separate electorate to the Muslim. That is a very important point here. Separate electorate was given to the Muslim. They had been demanding for separate electorate. So, that was given by Lord Minto. That is why Lord Minto is known as the father of communalism, because separate electorate led to communalism among the Muslims. They began to demand for Pakistan, separate state Pakistan. So, now separate electorate was given by Lord Minto. So, he is known as the father of communalism. So, if I feel that this word will help you to recapitulate what is given in this act. Very please NRI student. If you remember this, then you can at least it will help you, I feel, to remember this act. Okay. Now, so that is the act. Now we will do the next question. I finished this act. So now the next question. So the next question is what were the causes and effects of the famine of 1943? Okay, causes means what led to this famine and effects means the results. है नेपाली मा भन्छ हामीले कारण र यसको परिणाम के हो है र you can see the picture there. That is the picture of Winston Churchill. Okay, Winston Churchill, and another is you can see in the middle, that is the people were reduced to bones. That means they had no food because of famine. Famine भनेको अनिकाल हैन र अनिकाल भएको कारणले बेंगलमा चाहिँ उनीहरुको एकदम हड्डी छाला मात्रै भयो त्यहाँको मान्छेहरु. And you can see the flag, the British flag, which is also known as the Union Jack. So now the famine. So this famine actually, according to the English calendar, it took place in 1943. But it is known as the famine of 50s. A Panchasher Manvantar. Panchasher means what? 50. Manvantar means famine. So it is known as the famine of 50 or the Panchasher Manvantar. Why? Because according to the Bengali calendar, this famine took place in 1350. It took place in which year? 1350. So that is why this is known as the Panchasher Manvantar. Understood why? So I hope I am clear. Although it took place in 1943 according to the English calendar, but according to Bengali calendar it was 1350. That is why it is known as the Panchasher Manvantar. And there are a lot of different opinion about this famine which took place. Okay, so different opinion about this famine which took place earlier and which took place in 1943 under the British rule. So the first difference you can see here is that this famine was a very big famine. It took place in a large scale. Such famine had never taken place, and such a large scale, such big famine had never taken place before. But in 1943, such famine took place. And before, famine used to take place because of failure of monsoon, failure of rain. But here, this famine was a very big famine which took place during the British rule. And another thing is that, prior means before 1943, there was a lot of natural calamities like earthquake, landslide did take place, and famine also did take place. But this famine which took place in 1943 was very artificial. It was man-made. Man-made means it was because of the British that the famine took place. The British are largely responsible for the causation of this famine. And number 3 is that the British played a very important role in the causation of this famine. So I hope I am clear. The 3 reasons are: number 1 is that this famine, before also famine took place, but this famine was a very big famine which took place during the British rule. And another is this was artificial, it was man-made, mostly not because of natural calamities, but because of the British. So the British played a very important role. They were largely responsible for the causation of this famine. Okay. Now the causes. So what happened is that the Second World War, 1943 means Second World War was going on. So when the Second World War was going on, people were facing a lot of economic problems. People had no money, there was inflation, the price of goods were very high, and also people could not get the supply, they could not get the articles that they needed, daily articles were not available. And also people used to do black market. That means they used to keep things and they used to sell it at a very high price, 6 times more, 7 times more. They used to sell the goods, and there was a lot of corruption. Nepali ma bhaन्छ नि भ्रष्टाचार पुरा थियो. So that was one reason. Because of Second World War, there was a lot of economic hardship, economic problem. Prices of goods were very high, people did not get the daily necessities, and also there was black marketing, there was corruption. That is one cause. Another cause is that, in Bengal there was shortage of rice. So it could be bought from other places. British could, or the Indians could bring the rice from other places. But what did the British do? They blocked the whole administration. They blocked the supply of goods from other places. So because of blocking of the supply of goods, there was there was a scarcity, there was lack of rice. That was the main reason. Then another thing you can see here is that at that time, rice could be bought from Burma. And from Burma, it used to be bought through Nagaland. But in Nagaland, there was air raid, air attack. Air Force attacked Nagaland at that time. So it was difficult to bring the rice from Burma. Okay, so it was difficult, and so that problems took place. Next is now from Burma they could bring very little because there was air attack in Nagaland, so they bought very little, and now they could bring the rice from other neighboring areas. They could bring from Assam, they could bring from Orissa, they could bring from other places, okay, from the neighboring places. But what did the British do? The British showed very unhelpful attitude. They were they showed very unfriendly, and they did not cooperate with the Indians in order to bring the rice from other states of of India. So because of unhelpful attitude of the British government, there was shortage. And another reason is that the people, the traders, they wanted to earn a huge amount of money. So what did they do? They hoarded. Hoarding is given there. Hoarding, what does hoarding mean? Hoarding means to, pile up the goods. They piled up a huge amount of rice. And what did they do? Is that they sold this rice 5 to 6 times more. 5 to 6 times more rice was sold. So the poor people of Bengal could not buy the rice at such a high price. And the last point, I think, this about the causes is that now there was a lot of scarcity. Scarcity means there was lack of food, lack of rice. And so why there was lack of rice is because the British bought all the rice from the market and they stored it for the army. They stored it for the armies. They said they will need it for the army personnel. So they stored it, and so there was no rice in the market where the people, even if they went to the market to buy rice, there was no rice available, as all the rice had already been bought by the British government, saying that they needed those rice for the army officers or the army people. So these all were the causes for the famine of 1943. Oh, there is one more point. And the one more point is that, the British, they showed a very unfriendly attitude and they did not give any help to the people of Bengal. Okay, they only tried to torture and harass the Indians at that time. And what did they do? Is that they gave some relief measures. Relief means help. Relief measures they tried to give. But the relief measures were very late. It came very late. At the end of 1943, this relief measures came. So the Indians had already died by then because they had no food, because they were starving. And also rationing. Ration was provided by the British, but it also came very late. And you can see that, because of all these help were of no avail, it was of no use. So that is why the famine took place. Now the results. So you can see in the results, Parinam. So what one is that, see, so many people died. 40 to 70 million people died in this famine of Bengal. 40 to 70 million people died. It is said that the number of people who died in this famine were even more than the people who died in the Second World War. In the Second World War, which lasted for so many years, from 1939 to 1945, the war lasted, and so many people died. But the number of deaths in the famine were more than the death that was caused in the Second World War. That is one result. And another result is that now people were hungry. In the village, people were hungry. They had no food to eat. So from village, they came to Calcutta, street of Calcutta. They started to beg for, beg for food. They began to beg. Mangnu thale unale manchele. They began to beg for rice. And here, not for rice. I said rice, but they begged not for rice, but they begged for water from boiled rice. Bhat ko maar ko lagi unhale mang garyo. Kina unhale survive garnuko lagi. Just to survive, they needed that water from rice. So that was the condition. You can imagine what was the condition during those days. Then next is that now so many people were dying all over the street. There were so many deaths. So what happened is that there was spread of infectious diseases like smallpox and cholera and various types of diseases began to spread because of this famine. Then another thing is that that many writers wrote many literature, art. They did artwork about this famine. Dramas were written, films were written about this famine. And there is one film by Mrinal Sen. Mrinal Sen is a very famous filmmaker. So he has directed one film, Akaler Sadhani. Akaler means famine. Sadhani. So that means, what does it mean? Sandhani, sorry. Akaler Sandhani. What does it mean? It means in search of famine. To go in search of famine. So here he made this film, and he said that there is no need to go in search of famine because this was a reality in the village. You say village tira bhairako kura rahecha, pratyek घर घर तिर नै भइरहेको रहेछ यो कुरा, त्यसले गर्दा खोज्नु पर्ने कुरा हैन रहेछ भनेर अकाले सन्धानी मिन्स इन सर्च अफ फ्यामिन र खोज्नु चाहिँ जानु पर्दैन रहेछ यो चाहिँ घर घरमा नै प्रत्येक मान्छेको घर घरमा नै यो यस्तो फ्यामिन चाहिँ भइरहेको रहेछ भनेर उनीहरूले थाहा पायो सो यु नो that was the thing and another thing is that here the people were searching for food and they had to fight with the dogs street dogs in order to look for food in the dustbins बाटोको सडकको डग्सहरुसँग कुकुरहरुसँग पनि उनीहरूले खानुको लागि फाइट गर्नु पर्यो रे and sometimes man sold his wife sometimes the parents sold their children for money so that they can buy food and sometimes people went out in order to look for food they left all the dead people at home the people were dying they left all of them and then they went in search of food and so that was another thing and also at the beginning people did have they had little money and with that money they had already bought the rice so now in the later days they had problem of money they didn't have any money to buy the food and at that time Chitto Prasad was one person who made lot of paintings on the famine and this was exposed to the whole world people came to know about the Bengal famine and this Chitto Prasad not only made that artwork but he also wrote one book and the name of the book is Starving Bengal the artwork that he did was also known as Starving Bengal the book was also known as Starving Bengal भनेको मान्छेको भोकले अब यो के अब मर्नु र उनीहरु that book was written Starving Bengal and this Starving Bengal in this Starving Bengal he had written about the the miserable pathetic means miserable condition of the people of Medinipur को मान्छेले कसरी चाहिँ यो यसरी सहनु पर्यो है उनीहरुको दर्दनीय कथाहरु या उनीहरुको कथा हैन कुराहरु चाहिँ यहाँनिर लेखियो in this Starving Bengal and he blamed the British for the wrong policies of the British government. He said that because of the wrong policy of the British, this famine has been caused. So he wrote about it in the Starving Bengal, and a lot of books. This books on Starving Bengal was published. See, 5,000 copies of this book was published. But what did the British do? British seized. They took away all these books. 5,000 copies of book on Starving Bengal was taken away by the seized, means it was taken away by the British government and one copy was still there in the Chitto Prasad's family. One copy was still hidden by Chitto Prasad's family. Chitto Prasadको family ले चाहिँ लुकाएर राखेको थियो एउटा किताब चाहिँ यही किताब जुन Starving Bengal छ राखेको थियो and that book has been preserved today in New Delhi's Gallery of Art. It has been preserved and it is if you go to visit New Delhi's Gallery of Art you will find that book which was known as the Starving Bengal. So this is all about the famine. So with this I will end my class now. Thank you so much.